All right, well, it's 6 o'clock, so I'll declare the meeting open. Welcome all, and welcome to the members of the public gallery. I'll start by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land on which we meet and pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. Record of attendance, so we've got all councillors present and in person, and officers Matt Bird, Natalie Bell is an apology, Paul Spencer and Les Moan Waring. All right. Response to previous public questions taken on notice. That's questions from the last meeting, Neil. So public question time for this meeting. We'll open it up to the public gallery. Okay, Tran. Yep.
Thanks for looking at that. So I sent an email to all councillors and CEO, Shire President some time back. So this is just what I'm reading out, the same thing. And
yep.
Also sent photos as well. I'm hoping that you all had a chance to have a look at those. This is regarding prescribed burns. I have some questions and concerns regarding some recent and upcoming controlled burns within the Ravensthorpe Shire that I would like brought up at the next council meeting, along with the enclosed photos for reference, sent with the hard copy of this letter to the Shire CEO. I would firstly like to point out that I'm not against prescribed burns when they are in areas to prevent wildfires from being a threat to communities and major infrastructure, these generally being in closer proximity to town sites, etc. Duns Swamp. What is the justification for this area to be burnt? What or whom is in danger of a wildfire should it have originated from the Duns Swamp area? There are already multiple fire breaks and roads between Duns Swamp and any nearby infrastructure or housing. Why was the area burnt when conditions were not ideal? It is clear to see that the fire was extremely hot and resembles the aftermath of a summer wildfire, with large trees completely killed and not what is expected from a slow, cool burn that should only clean up the low-lying excess fuel load. Why had the burning tree trunks been left to burn and not doused with water from mop-up crews? How can it be called a controlled burn when it's obvious that the fire is left to do its own thing? At least half of all the larger trees in the area have been burnt through to the roots and fallen over, never to recover. This in itself makes a mockery of the intended idea to reduce the fuel load, as now the area is covered in all the fallen trees, complete with their dead leafy canopies. The area was once a lovely place to go bird watching, bushwalking and horse riding, but is now nothing more than an eyesore and devoid of any wildlife that existed there. What has happened is nothing short of environmental vandalism. I would like to know if the Shire CEO, Shire President and Shire councillors who endorse the prescribed burns have been out to the site to see the results of their decision making. On to other prescribed burns. I question the need for coastal reserves to be burnt. This seems completely unnecessary, as once again a wildfire in these areas would not be catastrophic to people or infrastructure. These areas are fragile and prone to wind erosion. I ask, what is the reason for these areas to be burnt and is it justified? I am asking the same question of the planned burn at the northeastern side of the Ravensthorpe roundabout. There is already significant fire breaks in this area, not to mention a very wide bitumen road. This could end up another major eyesore for locals and visitors alike if not carried out as a slow, cool burn. My final complaint is from a burn carried out approximately 2 seasons ago in the reserve adjacent to the Ravensthorpe Cemetery. Once again, the burn was left uncontrolled, causing multiple large salmon gums to burn out at the roots and topple over. There are many other trees still upright, but now dead. As some may know, I live in the area and often walk through that reserve, observing many varieties of birds nesting in tree hollows. I had spent considerable time scratching out a basic walk trail there and enjoyed walking it with my dogs regularly. The mechanical mulcher and fire destroyed it all, and I rarely go there now. The time and money would have been better spent on controlling the boxthorn infestation there instead. In closing, I urge councillors and all other decision makers to spend more time carefully considering the need, timing and methods of any further controlled burns. there needs to be a balance, and currently it is tipping towards reckless destruction. And I've just got a little final note I put on here in that I had emailed the people I'd emailed all this to. The only response I got was from Matt pretty quickly, which was nice. But I hadn't heard anything from anybody else. I was disappointed about that. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that question, Trina. Yep.
Thanks, Trina. Yep. So, and thank you for providing the questions well in advance, because it does give us an opportunity to get to talk with the team and get an appropriate response to those questions. So, Shire President, are you happy for me to answer that? Yep. So,
take it away, Matt.
So the first question is, what is the justification? So the justification for the burn is determined by the Shire Bushfire and Emergency Services team, who assess the potential risk to life or assets. Protection of these included the Dun Swamp burn on the basis that if there was a fire in the Dun Swamp Reserve, we would be faced with a high-intensity bushfire incident that would prove to be very difficult to contain. The second question was, what or whom is in danger? Residents who are departing their homes bound for emergency evacuation centres and all the first responders who are arriving in attempting to contain the incident. Unfortunately, roads, tracks and fire breaks are not generally sufficient in width to provide means of limiting the progress of summertime bushfire incidents and require additional complementary works to afford protection. The third question was, why was the area burnt when conditions were not ideal? It may not seem so, but the conditions for prescribed burning in the coastal portions of the Shire this year have been some of the best for a number of years. Rain in April and early May has enabled prescribed burning to proceed with some soil moisture present. Prescribed use of fire in the mallee and heaths in the Ravensthorpe Shire mirror bushfire intensities. Our native plants have evolved strategies to ensure their continued survival post-fire, and this is the vegetation type found at Dun Swamp. Cool, low-intensity burns are the style of prescribed burning that occurs in eucalypt woodlands, where the accumulation of leaf and bark debris on the ground becomes the fuels for the burning activities. The majority of fallen trees in the Dun Swamp Reserve are mallee in nature, and it is quite typical that mallee fall over and are killed in the passage of a fire. Mallee have a lignotuberous root that enables the mallee to re-sucker from the root and re-establish. The mallee and adjoining heathlands usually take around 2 years to recover post-fire, with the first evidence of recovery being the resprouting sedges and grasses, and then in time with mallee suckers and then the emerging heath and scrub plants. Cool burns are not possible to achieve and or implement with the plant communities in the Dun Swamp Reserve. We are confident that the native vegetation within and adjoining the reserve will in time recover, with significant vigour given the recent release of nutrients and bound up elements in the plant material, and the dramatic stark nature of the burnt bush will soon be overcome. The fourth question was, why wasn't there any mop-up done at Dun Swamp? Mop-up standards for a prescribed burn require blackout of all alight materials on the ground within 10 metres of the boundary of the burn. The hot items are either picked up where possible and walked inside the burn at a distance greater than 10 metres and or doused with water if not able to be relocated inside this zone. However, if the surrounding country has been recently burnt, i.e. less than 10 years old, then in some circumstances a mop-up may not be undertaken. The fifth question was justification for coastal reserves being burnt. The decision to implement a prescribed burn in the coastal reserve east of the 2 Mile recreation site in Hopetown was considered as the preferred option, as this is the start of the first coastal heath plant community east of Hopetown. The burn was done to reduce the potential for a bushfire to impact the 2 Mile recreation site and East Hopetown. The sixth question, justification for the Ravensthorpe roundabout burn. With regards to the planned prescribed burn on the northeast corner of the roundabout at the intersection of the heavy haulage road, Hopetown Ravensthorpe Road and Jamison Street, the intent is to specifically target the very mature broom bush thicket, not the adjoining mature stand of the Ravensthorpe oil mallee. These stands of broom bush vegetation have capacity to burn rapidly and create fire brands of a light material that does and will, under bushfire weather conditions, provide the opportunity for a fire to start downwind inside the town site adjacent to the caravan park and motel buildings. No preparatory works have commenced with this particular burn at this stage. Comment on the Ravensthorpe cemetery burn. This prescribed burn and clean-up within the cemetery reserve was undertaken to reduce levels of accumulated fuel loads, which would make containment of a bushfire incident very difficult, especially given the proximity to the adjoining Ravensthorpe Range subdivision. The parcel of Salmon Gum and Ravensthorpe Oil Mallee Reserve to the west of the current modern cemetery is all located on the cemetery reserve. We made significant attempts to implement advanced mop-up by raking back all of the accumulated debris around the base of all of the fire-sensitive salmon gum trees in the area we treated. So,
all right. Yeah, thanks for that detailed response, Matt, and yeah, thanks again for submitting that question in advance, so we could answer that one appropriately. I will just address your final part of that question, Trainer. I've just had a look at this email, so it was addressed to Matt, so that's why we would have felt that was appropriately answered. Thank you. Okay, is there any other questions from the public gallery on that one or anything else?
I've got one. If we're writing to the Shire, we write to the CEO and forward in or CC in councillors, then it should surely stand that this document is going to all of you, not just Matt.
and I think if you're referring to like Trina's email, so because Trina asked for it to be read at the OCM, then the appropriate response is actually how we've done it here. So it's probably not appropriate for councillors to come back to Trina directly before the council, before the Shire's had the opportunity to respond in this format. So I take your point. It probably thought that the councillors were ignoring you, Trina, but that's certainly not the case. They brought that up at the corporate discussion that they had received your email, but because it is a public question time, it really has been dealt with the right way. We will then send out a formal written response to you, Trainer, following this meeting. But we do thank you for providing those questions beforehand, because it allows us to have these discussions. Otherwise, we have to take all these questions on notice and just get a written response.
I'm not expecting the councillors to address anything that I said. I just acknowledged that they had received it and it was going to be taken to the meeting between us.
Yep, we'll take that on board. Yep. And so that response will be published in the next minutes of the OCM as well. Any other questions from the public gallery?
Much point. Who's dealing with the fires? I mean, I don't know how you guys can sleep at night, given that we are in a biodiversity hotspot area and the tourism promotion is all about our pristine, beautiful, unique bushland. You go and burn it without any bloody plans whatsoever. And the bullshit about fires.
Yeah, I'll just have to ask you to mind your language there, Cheryl. And so it is public question time. So is there a question? Yeah, this sounds like a statement, but if you've got a question to ask, then we can answer that. Yeah.
I'm asking how you can sleep at night knowing that you are destroying the very thing that you promote this area for.
So it is a very contentious issue around the prescribed burning. The reason that we implement the bushfire management plan is to protect property and life. But it is very dividing to the community in terms of the views on that. So we do acknowledge that. And the reality is, because we are protecting property and life, the burns are usually around highly visual places like town sites or main roads. So it looks bad, and you can't make a cool burn, hot burn, any sort of burn look good. But there's a real reason that we do it in terms of protecting life and property.
Right, any other questions from the public gallery? No, all right. So we'll move on to declaration of interest. So we have got.
Yep, thanks,
One
John
there.
President. We have received one from Councillor Richardson. It's for one of the confidential items behind closed doors, 15.2. Councillor Richardson has indicated that he's a shareholder in that particular matter, so a financial interest. So Councillor Richardson will leave the room for that item.
Yep, thanks, Matt. All right, so confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting, 7.1. So is there a mover that the minutes and associated attachments of the ordinary council meeting held on the 20th of May 2025 be confirmed as a true and correct record?
Yeah, I'll move that.
Thanks, Councillor Gibson. Seconder?
Second that, Mr. President.
Councillor Richardson. All in favour? Yep, that's carried. Point 8, announcements, reports by elected members. So we'll start with you, Councillor Moody, and work our way around the room.
I did miss the last council meeting, but previous to that, I did attend a Scratch-Selling Roads Group meeting with Matt. A few things that come out of that were that there's no capital X money allocated to the whole region for the next 4 years, which is a bit disappointing. So that doesn't mean they'll still do maintenance, but there's no new projects that are going to happen. The only possible one will be part of the Albany Highway, just between, of the people familiar with that, between those two passing lanes, but that still has to be approved by the state government to get that $50 million to do that. The other one was the Morang flyover road was still going to happen as well in Albany, and they've been using rubber, so crumbed rubber in resealing, and it's been working really well. So that's something to look forward to in some of our resealing works. We might have to look at some of that. And there was $100 million allocated to sealing shoulders on Shire roads. Again, with the South Coast Highway, they consider that that's not a Shire road, it's a main road, and they state that the shoulders aren't wide enough to seal. So we're still going to advocate to try and get that done somewhere along the line. So keep working on that. And the other meeting that I attended was a LEMAC meeting, which was good. We had the policeman, I can't remember his name now. Tom, do you remember that?
The new sergeant.
Sergeant.
Yep.
Yeah, Sergeant.
Michael.
That's it. He did us a bit of a story on what to do, or not a story, but how to act in the situation of, like, if someone drives into a crowd or someone attacks with a knife in a crowded place, and what you should do, and which was quite informative. But yeah, apart from that, I think everyone else, the minds are all very quiet. Wasn't much happening around anything really. So that was it for me.
Yep. Thanks. Councillor Moody. Councillor Miliceski.
I just had one on the weekend. I just had a message. It said, Rob, I met the new dentist on Friday. She seems to be a very good dentist. If you were the one that instigated this service, I congratulate you. To overcome the needed service for Ravensthorpe, I hope this service eventually becomes permanent. Jan and I have campaigned for a long time to this service into Ravensthorpe from John Field.
Yeah. Good.
So they're quite, yeah. I responded back to them as well, saying that we're trying to organise a permanent one now at the moment. So, and Roger also helped with the contact.
Yeah.
For the current one. Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Councillor Miliceski. Councillor Mansell.
Unfortunately, I have no contact in the community.
Yep.
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Yeah, on the 3rd of June, we obviously had corporate discussion, so I attended that. But also prior to the corporate discussion, we had our first road group meeting, which I thought was fantastic, where the staff and some of the councillors were on board, and we got to kind of discuss or see the maps and the plans and work out the costings, have a look at the costings that was done up for us, and try and make some, see what the priorities might be in our planning ahead. So and we've got another one coming up in another 2 weeks. So I thought that was a really good thing to get in place, so we know where we're heading and can plan in the right direction, hopefully. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Richardson.
I have no reports, Mr. President.
No worries. Councillor Layton.
Yep, got a few. Just on the 29th and the 5th this last month, we actually had a councillor and an executive from the Bridgetown Shire come over and just had a chat to the Shire about similar things that are happening in their Shire. But I also discussed about the regional botanic garden that they're interested in becoming part of as well. Keith Bradby also came along with those guys, and so that was quite good. Good meeting with Tom and Matt. And then on the following day, I took them into the Fitzgerald River National Park and suggested that they continue on that way out, because they had a 4-wheel drive and vehicle, so they were quite happy to go find their way through the park on the way out. They were pretty well, very, very impressed, as everyone is. It looks like it's untouched in there. On the 1st to the 6th, the Run for Peace group, people who are running around for peace around the world every year, were coming to Ravensthorpe, and so I come and met with them, and I suggested that meet at the sculpture. This is a good spot now for meetings, because that's where I said to the Bridgetown guys, if you're coming over, I'll meet you outside the Jean String sculpture. So it's a good place, so I'm going to meet you there. They were really good. They're really good. A few of the locals came up. 4 of the kids came in, which was really, really good. 3 of them had artwork on the sculpture, and the guys who are running come from all around the world. So there's Mongolia, America, I can't remember the others, Poland, Russia, Canberra, Norway. But they came in and they spoke to the kids, and they spoke to them like gentlemen. And these guys were just amazing, and the kids just loved it. And they gave them the lit torch, and they passed the torch around to each of them, and said, "I want you to make a wish for peace." So I thought it was really good, really interesting, guys. And then because it was Reconciliation Week, I thought it was very appropriate for them coming through at that site in the Cotswold precinct. And so the next day, I suggested that they go to the Kookaburra Memorial, and they had a really good time there. They ran through with the torch in flame, and they all walked and read every sign, took photographs of the signs. So it was really good. And they restarted their run from there. So there's lots of photos that have been given to Rod. He's got lots of photos. On the 3rd of June, went to corporate discussion. On the 7th, attended the Ravensthorpe Historical Society meeting. And then on the 9th of the 6th, the Ravensthorpe CRC meeting. And then on the 13th to 6th, I attended the podcast launch for Andrew Chapman at the Hopetown CRC. It was very interesting, really good to see and hear and helping launch the podcast for him, which is now available online to anyone. And then I attended the Ravensthorpe Wildflower Show, which I have to, so that's good. Last weekend. And then, I've got oops there. Had an informal meeting with Matthew and the Mount Short Hopetown Aero Club in regards to the placing of the tail. That was it, I think.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Layton. Busy month. So for myself, on the 22nd of May, myself and the CEO met with the Education Department representatives here in Ravensthorpe, just to chat about the schools in the area and that. Then on the 29th of May, as Councillor Layton mentioned, we had a meeting with the Shire of Bridgetown Green Bushes, and they basically came over to visit our Shire because they're just interested in hearing about how we have gone about coexisting with the mining industry and all the trials and tribulations that come with that. So, yeah, that was a really good meeting. I think it was valuable for both parties and, there's a lot of similarities between their Shire and ours. So, yeah, that was good. Then on 3rd of June, as Councillor Gibson mentioned, we had our Shire Roads subgroup meeting, which was the first of its kind of that meeting. So, yeah, I think that's a really good step in sort of future planning for our road network. So, looking forward to more of those meetings. On the 4th of June, attended the LEMP meeting, the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting, which Councillor Moody touched on. On the 11th of June, attended the Ravensthorpe Hopetown Future Fund board meeting, and then on the 16th of June had another meeting with the board, and so we have finalised our grants program for 2024-25 now, and distributed approximately 280,000 to the community in grant programs. So it's pretty good thing that fund's doing. They've done a lot of work around strategic sort of direction and growing the brand and the scope of the board. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. Then last night had a RAIN meeting, Ravensthorpe Agricultural Initiative Network meeting, and they're sending a group of young farmers to a conference in Perth called Innovation Generation, and also planning a spring trials field day in late August. And then this is just ahead of this meeting on the 28th of June, which is in a couple of Sundays' time. We've got the big freeze coming up in Hopetown where they've asked me to go down the slide. So if anyone's at that event, they'll see me going down the big freeze slide. So that'll be good too. So, all right. So that's that for the month.
I forgot one of mine. I forgot that I attended the FBN.
Oh, yep.
Business Awards.
Yep. Well done. Can't believe that was a good event. All right. 0.9 nil, 0.10 nil, 11 nil, 12.1.1 recreational vehicle RV friendly policy. So the officer recommendation is that council endorse the draft RV policy as per attachment 12.1.1 to this report. Do we have a mover for that? Moved Councillor Miliceski, seconder Councillor Moody. All right, now I'm just going to propose an amended motion to this item. So the motion is that council endorse the draft RV policy with the following amendments. In policy guidelines, 0.1, designated free and low cost camping areas. Shire to work in collaboration with Hopetown Beachside Caravan Park operator to relocate the current free 48-hour camp location in Hopetown to within or adjacent caravan park location, and to retain the current Shire managed free 48-hour camp location in Ravensthorpe, being the corner of Morgan's and Queen Streets. And also amend the definition of Shire approved overnight rest area to include current free Ravensthorpe town site location. So that's amendment to that motion. Do we have so I'll put that on the table. Have we got a seconder for that amendment? Seconded Councillor Moody. Would anyone like to speak on that motion?
Well, I think it's a good amendment because a lot of the travellers through Ravensthorpe are only passing through, so it's great to have them stop in the centre of town. All our public comments we got back were all in favour of keeping it there. We never had one against it. So I think it would be perfect to keep it where it is.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Moody. And yeah, and I'll just echo Councillor Moody's comments there that yeah, we did review the public consultation that came in, and yeah, made the decision to treat the two towns differently in this case because of one being Hopetown being a destination location and Ravensthorpe being more of a thoroughfare where we want to capture people stopping in as much as possible. So yeah, that's why that decision was. I've moved that amendment. So all right. So anyone else want to speak on that motion? No. All right. We'll put it to the vote. All in favour?
Robert against?
Yes. Not in favour.
I'd like to see the 48-hour free camp stay in Hopetown. That's my opinion. At least until something else is worked out, because a lot of people don't come down without that 48-hour free camp. I know there was people against it. Maybe there's a different location, but we have mulled it over for how long. We're trying to find different places to have a 48-hour free camp. So I think it may eventually affect travellers down to that area. I don't know how we can change that in the policy.
So the current policy as it's written would allow the Hopetown free location to stay in place until we got the approvals for the caravan park adjacent or within the caravan park. So
low cost, but do we put that price on that cost, or it becomes part of the caravan park? That's the they.
So that part needs to be determined with the caravan park. That we'd have to enter into an agreement with the Hopetown caravan park operator around that.
Yep. Right. Thank you. So yeah, we'll bring this back to the vote now. So we had a 5-2.
So the vote for the amended motion. So
yep.
Do you want to do councillors just to show their hands again?
All right. Yeah. So let's just recap on that. So amended motion
6-4 and Robert against.
Yep. So
we'll record Councillor Miliceski as a no vote.
6-4, 1 against. Yeah.
6-1.
All right. So that's carried. Moving on to 12.2.1, monthly financial report. Do we have a mover that council receive the April 2025 monthly financial reports as presented? Moved Councillor Moody, seconded Councillor Gibson. Anyone want to speak on that one? No. All in favour? Yep, that's carried. 12.2.2 monthly financial report for 31st of May. Officer's recommendation is that council receive the May 2025 monthly financial reports as presented. Moved Councillor Richardson, second Councillor Miliceski. Anyone want to speak on that one? No. In favour? Yep, that's carried. Schedule of 12.2.3, schedule of account payments for May 2025. Officer recommendation that council, pursuant to Regulation 13 of the Local Government Financial Management Regulations 1996, the payment of accounts for the month of May 2025 be noted. Mover for that one. Move Councillor Layton. Seconder. Councillor Gibson. Anyone want to speak on that one? No. In favour? Yep, that's carried. 12.2.4 differential rate submission 25-26. Right, so the recommendation is that council, point 1, receive the submission for the proposed UV differential rates for 25-26 from McMahon Mining Titles Services Pty on behalf of International Graphite. Point 2, receive the submission for the proposed GRV and UV differential rates for 25-26 from FQM Australia Nickel. Pty Ltd. And point 3, authorise the CEO to make application to seek ministerial approval under section 6.33 of the Local Government Act 95 to impose differential rates that are more than twice the lowest differential rate being imposed. Do we have a mover for that motion?
Yes, I'll move that.
There's Councillor Moody, seconder. Councillor Gibson, anyone want to speak on that motion? No. All in favour? It's carried. 12.2.5, schedule of fees and charges, 25-26. Recommendation that council, point 1, adopt the 2025-26 schedule of fees and charges as presented, and point 2, endorse the adopted 25-26 schedule of fees and charges to be implemented and effective from the 1st of July 2025. Mover for that one. Move Councillor Richardson, seconded Councillor Layton. Anyone want to speak on that motion? No. In favour? Yep, it's carried. 12.2.6, Audit Committee independent members. That council, point 1, renames the Audit Committee as the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee. Authorises, point 2, authorises the CEO to initiate the recruitment search process for both presiding and deputy presiding independent ARIC members, and point 3, set the remuneration for independent ARIC members at $200 per individual per meeting attended. Have a mover for that one?
Yeah.
Move Councillor Layton, seconder. Councillor Richardson. Anyone want to speak on that motion? No. In favour? Yep. That's carried. Point 13, members' notions on which previous notice has been given. 14. Point 14 is nil. So that brings us to point 15, which is matters to be considered behind closed doors. So we have got a couple of items to consider behind closed doors. I've got to put the vote on. We have a mover that we move behind closed doors. Move Councillor Gibson, seconded Councillor Richardson. All in favour? That's carried. So you are welcome to stick around and come back at the end of the meeting if you. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your attendance. Yeah.
to do that stuff. You don't want to know.
So just for the on recording. So yeah, hope you guys didn't get too cold out there. All right, so
Councillor Richardson returned at 7:26 p.m.
all right, so Matt, do you want to comment on the?
There's probably nothing to comment on there.
Nothing
I
to
think,
comment on
President.
for the public. So all right, so that brings me to point 16, which is closure of the meeting.
At 7:26.
Thanks everyone for their attendance.